All right, guys. Good morning, and welcome back to Tack Unbridled. I'm your host, Daniel. How are y'all doing today? You guys doing all right? Me? I'm working on passing a kidney stone. Yay! It feels great. This is going to be my second one in 10 years. But, the thing with that I've mentioned before about running your own business is ain't anybody there to pick up the slack. So, you got to grin and bear it and deal with it. But, for any of you that have had kidney stones, there's times where you don't feel it. There's nothing going on. And then there's times where it just feels like there's just a nice knife in your side. It can be absolutely excruciating. Some of the worst pain I have ever felt in my entire life, but the show must go on. So here we are. So I had a request a few podcasts back about doing one, basically showcasing the highlights, the good times, what keeps you going, what keeps you motivated, why do you continue to do this? It's through the podcasts that I've done so far on this channel. I don't want to come across as a negative Nancy, but the reason that I wanted to do this podcast was, to show you the ups and downs and to be transparent for those of you that have a business or are thinking about starting a business. It's not all peaches and cream. It's like a roller coaster. There's lots of downs, as well. But this podcast, let's focus on the peaches and cream. Let's talk about the good stuff. The reasons why you continue to do it, or why I continue to do it anyway. And I wrote down a list of here, and this isn't an all-inclusive, every highlight that the business has ever had, but these are the ones that really kind of, stick out to me, and gives me that boost to keep going, to continue, really. So here's a few, and again, in no particular order by any means. Last week we were talking about events. So one highlight for me is when an event goes to plan. There's no greater feeling. It's awesome when you put in the time to plan and advertise your event, and people show up, and you have some sales, and people are happy, and they're on social media promoting it and saying what a wonderful time they had. It's awesome. It feels so good, and we've had quite a few of them. The very last tax swap that we just recently had was one of them, where when a plan all comes together and it works out, and it's great, and it gives you that boost to say, yeah, let's do another one. Some of the educational seminars that we had, where there was just monster turnout, and the one in particular, I had a local co-op call, and can we send our employees there for the seminar? Yes. It's great. So those are the ones that, make it all worthwhile, and give you that boost of adrenaline to say, yes, I'm doing it right. Another one for me, I love doing the parades. Where we are here in Virginia, all of the local counties have summer parades and usually Christmas parades. And I love doing them. Call me a kid at heart, but I have an old dump truck and a big flat trailer, and my daughter Joey and I will deck it out as a float. And we've had some of the summer parades we've had. We've made Cinderella's carriage. We've done some before where we've taken all of my daughter's stuffed animals and just put them all out on display, like they're riding horses. We did a farm scene one time with like a little corral and some saddles and stuff. The winter Christmas parades, we deck everything out in Christmas lights. We've had little like sleighs, horse-driven sleighs. I love them. They're fun. They get your name out there. All the little kids and adults are all, doing the blow your air horn sign, and they're just, it's great. It's awesome publicity. The all of the we've done Madison, Orange, Louisa, Mineral, and I think that's Lake of the Woods. So we've done every year. Every year we do two of them. There's been a couple that we've had to skip because of moving the store and stuff like that. Timing wise, just didn't work out. But it's great. It's fun. The people there are having a blast. You're having a blast. Joey's having a blast. It's a lot of fun. And we've won a lot of awards too for best float and best commercial float. We used to ride horses in the parade. That kind of got a little confusing and complicated, so we don't really do that too much anymore. But and it's not about winning the awards or the plaques or the trophies or any of that stuff, but it is a nice little cherry on top to know that you put in the time and you got rewarded. But that's not why we do it by any means. It's a good community outreach, and it's fun. It's one of those things I always look forward to with this business, is going out and being in the local parade. It's a lot of fun. Another thing for me that I really enjoy, one of those highlights is I being around in this business for 14 years now. I've seen a lot of these kids grow up that have come in as little, toddlers, just starting to ride and get into it. And now, they're teenagers, if not 20, plus years old, and they're still coming in and they're still shopping. And I've had customers from day one that have stuck with us and continue to support us, and that it's great. For me, it's just a fantastic feeling to know, that I've witnessed these people grow up in this industry and continue to support us. It's neat. It's fun. It's one of those things, like I was saying before, you've got to take the good with the bad, and there's just so much bad that you cherish the good stuff when it comes along. Another one for us, and it's funny, it still continues to this day, but one of things that always made me proud was back when we were building horse jumps. I built a lot of horse jumps for colleges. And, you talk about a pat on the back. For me, I made jumps for Randolph-Macon College and University of Richmond and UVA and, and more. James Newport. I mean, there's a lot that I'm forgetting. But, nothing makes you feel like you've made it than getting contacted by an equestrian college team to build a horse jump. And that whole time where we were building horse jumps, I would flip through magazines and stuff and see our horse jump in the picture, in the background picture. Like Randolph Macon would always put their their college team around the jump and take their year-end photo. Like, talk about being proud, man. That was that. And to this day, I still, it's been about 6 years since when we really built jumps. They're still out there. I built everything to last, and we're still, after all of this time, still getting phone calls for people wanting to order horse jumps. But being able to see my stuff in a magazine or on a social media post, where they're advertising a horse show and all my jumps there in the background, um, that's the good stuff. That is the good stuff. I love that stuff. Makes me feel good. Makes me proud, of this business. Makes me want to, continue this business. Um, Call me old school, but another one for me is as simple as it sounds, is a positive Google review. Um, I love them. I love them. It makes me feel good when I see a good, positive Google review. Somebody has taken, a minute or two of their day, of their time to, showcase us and to say something positive about us. In the world today, like I was saying, there's so much negativity, that I've seen Google reviews for, oh goodness, everything. And 9 times out of 10, people are leaving negative reviews. Oh, it took forever for it to arrive and the box was damaged. And I mean, they're so fast to jump on there and to voice their disdain in something. So when somebody comes along to leave a positive Google review, it feels good. It makes me feel good, makes me feel happy that, again, somebody took a little time out of their day to say something nice. Like, how hard is that? Um, the same thing with Facebook, or really just social media in general. Um, when we get, when MadTack gets a recommendation, somebody will put a, in search of post, in search of, XYZ saddle, or, in search of, somebody to clean my tack, or, looking for a bridle, looking for a bit or whatever. And when people get on there and go, go check out MadTack, man, that feels great. And it sounds, extremely simple. And the truth is it really is, but it gives you that boost. It makes you feel good inside to see somebody recommend you. And I don't want to say it happens a lot or it doesn't happen a lot. I guess if it happens nonstop, every single day, you would kind of wear off. But I don't know. Every once in a while, I'll get a notification on Facebook or whatever that MadTack's been tagged in something. And I'm like, oh, okay, what's this about? And I go and look. And, it's one of those things like, oh, hey, I'm looking for, where do I go to find this? Or, I'm in search of this and somebody's tagged us. Go check out MadTack. Man, it feels good. It feels really, really good. So you got to cherish those things when they happen. And I do. Those are the little things that kind of keep me going. Here's one that, again, I'm really showing my age with this one, but a thank you card. Now, as much as I cherish, the Facebook reviews and the recommendations and the Google reviews and all of that, but a thank you card, wow, that makes me feel great. Our bathroom here at the store, we have 2 of the walls are completely covered in thank you letters and thank you cards. I believe the last one was dated from 2023 or 4. So it's been about 2 years since we've gotten, a thank you card. And it's not from lack of sponsoring stuff or donating for stuff, or But it just seems like the day of, sending a handwritten thank you card is kind of past. But again, I'm really old school with that. And a thank you for me goes a long, long way. Um, like I said, I as much I appreciate Google reviews, absolutely love them, and don't stop with them. They feel great. But when you actually physically sit down and write a thank you card, boy, wow. I mean, for me, there's no greater feeling. There's no greater feeling. And I love social media shout outs. Absolutely. I cherish them. But boy, when somebody takes the time to write a thank you card, and it doesn't need to be 5 pages long. That's not what I mean at all. Just a quick little, you know thank you, whatever, for whatever. Thank you for the donating. Thank you for the sponsorship. Thank you, for whatever. Appreciate that. And then they mail it out, and I get that. It brings me all the way back to being a really little kid, and getting that first piece of mail with your name on it. Like, I remember, the birthday times, going to the mailbox, or, my dad bringing the mail, and he's like, "Oh, you got a letter, you got a card." It was like, wow, that's awesome. I love that. So, I those, it's hard to describe. It really is. It's just a boost. It's just that pat on the back of, wow, yeah. I mean, in this negativity world, it feels great. Feels great to get a simple thank you card. Um, so I have one more here. This might be a little shorter podcast, but I've got one more here, and this one here was probably, I think, in my opinion, my biggest highlight. The one that really just makes me the most proud of this business. And it was opening our second store in the middle of COVID. August of 2020, that year in general, COVID year was, I know this is probably a little taboo to say, but that was our best year in business. That year was amazing, because horse people are of a different breed. They've got animals that they've got to take care of, and come hell or high water, COVID or not, they're going to do it. They're going to go out, and they're going to take care of their animals. Period. Simple as that. So whatever rules that the government wants to put in about you can't do this and that, horse people, they're going to do what they need to do to get the job done. And we were open. We stayed open. And you can say what you want, but government wasn't paying my bills, so I had to stay open, and we did. And that year was awesome. Was amazing. We did so well that we opened a second store. My wife at the time was teaching, and obviously when COVID hit and the schools closed, she was out of work. We had been talking about a second location for a couple of years, but it was one of those things, it was a big decision, and we didn't want to take it lightly. But then COVID hit, and she was out of work, and we were doing so well. And we were like, if we were ever going to do it, now is the time. So in the middle, I mean, dead middle of COVID, in August of 2020, we scouted out another location and opened the doors. And I could not believe the news organizations, the papers, the magazines, the radio networks, friends, family, customers, everybody was like, what is going on? There's businesses closing left and right. Everybody's going out of business. And you guys are opening a second location? What the heck? We had interview after interview after publication of like, what in the heck is going on? You talk about some basically feeling of satisfaction, feeling of, you know, we're we're opening another, we're expanding when everybody's going out of business. Wow. I mean, there was no greater feeling I excuse me, that I have ever felt in this business than that. That time frame was incredible. Um, a lot of it was because, a lot of people did have time off. A lot of people were out of work. They were getting stimulus checks and all of that stuff too. So, that helped the cause. We did not do any of that uh, small business loans or any of that stuff. We didn't need to. We were doing so well. The store was profiting so well during that time frame that we did it all out of pocket and opened up the second location. Um, so that time frame from 2020 and 2021 into uh, I mean, I I couldn't have been happier. It was the most amazing time that I've ever had in this business. Was operating two stores. Um, now fast forward, we're back down to one. Times have changed drastically. Um, but since this podcast is just based on the highlights and the good stuff, um, that was a big one for me. That was a huge deal. And I still look back at that time, and I'm like, wow, man, when nobody else could, we did it. So there's other highlights in this business too. There's a little one. I think it was 2018, 17 or 18. We're always looking for new things to bring in the store, and to get people's interest and stuff. And at our old Madison location, we brought in a soda cooler because a lot of people were asking for water and Gatorades and stuff for their trail ride. So we brought that in. And they were like, "Oh, what else can go with that? Oh, we got to bring in some beef jerky. We got to bring in some trail mix." Well, I went to our local home goods, not home goods, home market here, Yoder's, and I reached out to them and I was like, I want to get a trail mix, but I need to make it differently. You guys have a lot of chocolate and stuff in yours, and that's not going to work on trail rides. It's going to melt. And they're like, "Well, give us, what you want in your trail mix, and we'll make a trail mix for you." So we did. We gave them all our ingredients that we wanted, and they made a Mad Tack trail mix with our name and everything on it, and that was awesome. I mean, that was so cool, and that was so neat, and we sold it for years. Um, and then ultimately we changed locations and we went to Orange. It's never sold. We didn't bother to bring it in anymore. I might do it though. I might bring it back in here again because we're back here in Madison, and it's not far from a lot of trail riding. But that was cool. Like that was fun. That was neat to have a trail mix named after you. That was fun. So these are a lot of the highlights and the good, the stuff that keeps you going, because if it was just all the negative stuff, after a while it wears you down, and then you're like, oh, what the heck am I doing this for? So you've got to, when that good stuff comes along, you gotta grasp it, you gotta cherish it and enjoy it, and gives you the motivation to keep going. So anyway, I think that's gonna about do it. I know, like I said, I know there's more stuff in there. There's more, highlights and stuff in there. There's, just simple stuff too. When you have a good day, you have a good sales day, or, and a lot of times it's not even based on sales. It's just, you've got friends that come in, and you're talking with them, and they're having a good time, and and all of that stuff. I mean, that's the stuff that keeps you going. You gotta look for something good in every day, because if you just dwell, I'll be the first to admit I'm a naturally pessimistic person. I am. That's how I'm wired. I always look at the glass half empty. I always look at the bad and you know the the negative stuff. And through the years, I've really tried to work on changing that. I'm still not 100% converted over, but that's why I cherish the good stuff when it comes along, because I can find myself, I want to say depressed. I don't. That's not it. But you always second guess yourself and decisions that you make, and that's I can't do that. I can't focus on that because it'll take me down. It'll eat me up inside. So you know. And that's the best advice that I can give anybody, that second guesses themselves or, their business is, grasp this good stuff, when you can, um, and for those of you that don't, own a business, or, you're not self-employed, you know, think of the person in their shoes too. You know, take a second of your day and leave a positive review about a business that you went to or a restaurant that you ate at. I can tell you right now, they appreciate it. They really do. A simple thank you card or a simple, mention on social media, um, wave when you see them out there, a handshake, thank you for doing what you're doing. That for a business owner, that stuff means a lot. It gives them the drive to keep going. When the world is trying to knock them down, that's the good stuff. So just remember it when you're out there and about. Just a simple thank you goes a long way. So, anywho, I think that'll about do it for this one. I've got a whole book here of other podcasts that I've want to work on and talk about and get lined up. But if there's something you guys want to hear me talk about anything, here like I said, I've got a few that I want to talk about our consignment program, our different locations, what it's like being a dad raising a daughter. I want to do some interviews. I want to talk about employees. If there's anything you guys want to hear, just drop a message, or either shoot us a message or leave a comment down below, and let me know. I'll be happy to talk about whatever you wanna listen to. So, anywho, thank you guys so much for tagging along. Thank you so much for the support. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.